What's some horrible things going on around the world right now that public knows nothing about? My grandmother is in elder care. This elder care was funded by her selling her house. It's ridiculously expensive, and yet the workers are underpaid, so it's often the only way to pay for the nursing home or hospice care. My generation is full of renters, many of whom had to forego having children because children are expensive. What's going to happen when we get too old and sick to work? Same thing happened to my dad back in 2020. He had Alzheimer's, and I married into a family of lawyers who were fortunately able to assist me in figuring out conservatorship, guardianship, and selling his property to fund his care. During the whole process, and after his death, I frequently wondered, how on earth do people 1. Figure this out if they don't have free access to experts, and 2. How fucked is my generation? It's going to be even more brutal than the disaster it already is. Microplastics are now being found in all food protein sources in significant numbers, and found in human organs and human placentas. We have no real idea how they will affect us or the environment, and their presence will keep growing unchecked with no solution even proposed. I wouldn't be surprised if microplastics will be our generation's lead in gasoline, except a million times worse. Modern-day slavery rarely makes front-page news. Associated Press did a big thing on that some years ago. If you don't read Associated Press, then you probably did not see anything about that. But they did month after month after month of reporting on various modern-day slaveries. None of it made it to the headlines. Medical advances the last 30 years, including statins, better blood pressure medicines, detailed medical imaging, artificial joints, colonoscopies, heart coronary surgery techniques, and other technologies, will make our bodies outlast our minds for tens of millions of us. There could be an epidemic of dementia coming soon unless we can develop better brain health. Don't forget cancer treatments. You have targeted and immunotherapies. My mom died from lung cancer this summer, but targeted therapy turned a 3-month prognosis into a 2-year prognosis with a much greater quality of life than traditional chemotherapy. From what she was saying, her medication didn't exist 5 years ago. Peatlands. My wife is a senior climate researcher who works on methane and peatlands projects. The astounding ability that peatlands have to carbon capture is insane. Most people don't realize it. The sketchy thing, private entities are buying peatlands areas and destroying them on massive scales. Also, global South countries who have major peatlands are inclined to say, screw you, to developed countries who are trying to convince them to not build, develop, mine, etc. on these lands. The global South countries are basically like, you screwed the world and don't care about anyone. Why should we care now? It's not good. Kids in the Congo have been mining cobalt in colonial conditions for the last few decades. This cobalt is used in everything that is supposedly eco-friendly and sustainable. Hopefully, new lithium-sulfur batteries replace the need for cobalt. Lithium mines are totally fine and not at all a dangerous risk to anyone or anything. This doesn't compare to a lot of things I've read here, but the attitude towards mental health in aviation. A pilot takes some time for their mental health, and there is a decent chance they won't fly again. It's encouraging some very unhealthy ways of dealing with issues. Food product cartels. Many countries have had cartel-like takeovers for food products. I know Netflix did a documentary series of each episode showcasing a different food product, but that was just a small number of serious cartel-like takeovers of small farms and larger cooperations. The problems include farmers' lives being at risk, and even consumers, sometimes unknowingly purchasing counterfeit products at horridly high prices. What documentary was it? It was a docu-series called Rotten. Each episode centered around a different food products. One was about honey, and one was about avocados. Since the Joseph Fritz case years ago, it horrifies me that there's likely so many similar cases where they'll never be caught, and the victim will never be free. Here's the real kicker. Those people who are inclined to imprison their family members or anyone else also saw the stuff on Joseph Fritzl, and they took his case as lessons in what not to do to keep from getting caught. So many news reports go on and on about This horrible monster did this and almost got caught when they were pulled over on a routine traffic stop. Meanwhile, the monsters are watching the news with a mental ticker, thinking, okay, when I do it, I keep this or that in mind, so I have a better chance to get away with it. You know what creeps me out the worst? He basically got caught because he wasn't evil enough. People might understandably think he could possibly be any more evil, but it was doing something good, taking one of his kids to the hospital, that led to his downfall. The education system in America is collapsing, and it's going to affect our place as a technology leader, which is going to affect our place as a world leader. I don't think we realize how much of our standing in the world is due to our investment in science. I'm talking incoming college students scoring zeros on math placement exams, top 10 public university. Meanwhile, China is spending a shit-ton on education and science and technology. AI is devouring entire professions one bite at a time. I'm a copywriter who lost his job twice at 2 different companies in separate industries last year. It's not AI itself that I'm concerned about. AI could be an extremely beneficial tool for society. The concern I have is in corporate and government response and legislation surrounding it. If even a portion of the profits that AI generates can be used to fund social programs and create a UBI that uplifts everyone to a minimum standard of living, while also reducing human involvement in dangerous and tedious jobs, then it's a net win for society. However, it does not look like we're heading in that direction, and AI is just going to end up widening the income gap and will result in millions more people living under the poverty line. The healthcare system in America is collapsing, and people don't care. They just want us to keep fixing them like nothing is wrong and berate or use violence against us while doing it. Horrible working conditions, corporate overlords controlling hospital admin end, and the insurance end leeching money endlessly at the expense of healthcare workers and patients will end badly for everyone. Running pharmacies as fast food places is incredibly harmful to the public. It's insane the metrics we have and how little time we actually get to make sure medicines are actually safe for patients. About half the people you interact with on Reddit, Twitter, YouTube comments, Twitch comments, etc. aren't real people. Most of the articles you read on most news sites are using AI-generated content. When you talk to customer support via text chat, it is most likely now a generative AI agent, especially if its grammar is good. It's getting harder and harder to see and understand reality. It's like we're constructing some kind of weird nightmare in our society and we haven't even realized it. Due to low childbirth, in most of the developed world, number of pensioners goes up while number of economically active young people goes down, which means that social systems in many countries, Germany, Japan, much of Western Europe in general, will collapse like house of cards in this century. So if I make it to old age, I will most likely die of starvation and exposure in cardboard box under some bridge together with millions of others, since there will be no money for even basic pensions. Uyghurs will soon be systematically erased as a culture, and they are really unlucky to have China as their culprit. Any other country doing something similar would be shamed to death right now. But everyone is afraid of China and losing their businesses there, so they just chill and pretend you're not educated on the situation. Their kids will be raised as default Chinese. Their adults are in re-education camps. Their lands will be flooded with other Chinese, and their history will be gone and erased. Seems exaggerated? Go check if Tibet is still really Tibet right now. They carefully engineer their country to maintain good order and hegemony. Black Mirror is nothing compared to reality. Cartels have taken over Ecuador and are currently in a war with the Ecuadorian government. They've taken over news stations and prisons, holding prison guards hostage and executing them daily until their requests are met. Government isn't budging, so tons of prison guards have been executed on video for the world to see. You won't hear a single thing about this on US news. We are blowing past targets for global warming, and no one is taking it anywhere near as serious as they should. The oceans are already starting to face massive ecosystem collapse. Meanwhile, half the people in charge won't admit there's a problem, and the other half thinks all we need to do is get people to go out and buy Teslas. The reality is that our children are so doomed. While most people are aware of the Russia-Ukraine war, most probably aren't aware that some 700,000 children have been relocated from occupied Ukraine into the interior of Russia. These numbers are directly from the Russian government. Pretty good chance most of those children will never see their families again.